to rise and take a call in the unit titles bill this afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to sincerely thank the officials who supported us in this bill and through the process that we went through in the Select Committee, and also the submitters that came into the Select Committee and submitted. A lot of them brought some very relevant points to the Select Committee which we considered and actually influenced what we did with the bill and what's come forward to the House. So thank you for their submissions. They're very powerful, and we realise that many of them put a lot of work and effort and time into those submissions, and no doubt cost to get down to submit as well, and we appreciate what they've done in making this bill the way it is today. National went into the election on a platform of streamlining and simplifying regulations, and this is just one more way of achieving that streamlining. The initial Unit Titles Act, in fact 2004 I think Labor began actually looking at this bill, and it is actually National which has delivered it in 2010. It's before the bill now, before the House now, and actually been delivered. A great government which is delivering once again on its promises. In fact, the initial Unit Titles Bill 1972 was designed for small residential flats, applied to a range of complex, large and mixed-use development. In 2007 there were 16,500 developments and 95,000 units. So as you can see, times have changed. It's looking like there'll be over 500,000 people living in apartments, townhouses and high-rise buildings within 50 years. So it's important that we get this bit of legislation right, and the framework will stand true for a period of time. This bill will provide broader and more adaptable ways of setting up and managing multi-unit living, both now and the foreseeable future, which is important. The bill has attracted enormous support throughout the sector and throughout the industry. There was consultation, feedback had been highly positive of the direction of the policy initiatives that have been put in place. A range of problems had been identified, which included issues with joint decision-making, building maintenance, financial management, governance of developments, information disclosure, consumer protection and dispute resolution, and those have all been addressed in this bill. The one thing I do want to touch on is the definition of a principal unit, which is in part 1 of the bill, which is what we're debating in the committee stage at the moment. The issue was that the definition was too narrow and would restrict some current use of unit titles, such as car parks. And this was emphasised by the New Zealand Property Group in particular, which came in with issues around this. And the further issue in the definition of a principal unit was the ability to create open space units retained, although many car parks would still be allowed to be created. So there was a change that was needed. The definition of principal unit would be widened to include car parks, whether or not they comprised open space. And the recommendation did not include changes that would enable other forms of open space units to be created. So when you're talking with definitions, it's actually important that you get those right, because they influence everything else you do going forward. The other little area I'd like to touch on in this part of the debate is the timeshare developments. The New Zealand Holiday Ownership Council supported the bill, but needed new definitions for timeshares. This was addressed by us by the Lake Edge Resort Body Corp and by Richard Martin. They had very strong full submissions and very accurate actually in what they were saying and how this legislation didn't intend to impact on them, but in fact it did. They'd slipped through the net. So because of those submitters coming in, the bill had to deal with specific operating procedures of timeshare developments, and it would have made the running timeshare resorts very, very difficult moving forward. So the committee has addressed this. This was specifically in regard to voting, quorum and body corporate ability to be able to levy. So we made a change, a new schedule to be inserted to provide specific modifications for timeshare developments that are unit title developments, and other amendments were put in place as well as necessary for the holiday homes and the timeshares. So this has been an interesting bill that we've had before our Select Committee, and I look forward to talking about it further on during this debate. Thank you, Mr. Chair.